Beasty versus Wham. And Delhi versus Chinese is going to be the first matchup on Gorge, which Gorge is always an interesting map. Sometimes decided by sheep, usually decided by food in the long run, anyways, just because of how open and how kind of aggressive it makes you in a sense.
Yeah, it kind of you gotta play what the map gives you, and a lot of these, obviously, some of the best players in the world are going to have the ability to do that. But we'll see when we actually see the map and we introduce the players and all of that kind of stuff. In the beginning, you have your starter resource nodes, right? You have those, and they're a little bit more spread out. They're more spread out than most of the other maps that are here. And in the both sides of the gorge, there you have that little like pseudo mountain range there in the middle. But on the sides, that's where all the resources are. So yeah, you got to get out there and go get them, which means more raiding opportunities, which means just an utter sheer amount of chaos. This is one of my favorite maps on not only on the tournament pool that we have, but on the ranked ladder as well. I love this map.
Yeah, it's always fun. You usually have like that deer pack and the boar in like the direct corner of the map, which is usually where you'll see Roos picked quite often, or French even, or Joan, which no JD gonna be picked in this series looks like. Wham does have Roos availability though, which kind of surprising always in the grander scheme of things. But that's where we've seen, I feel like, with the overall like with the civs getting expanded and now some of the weaker ones, Order of the Dragons and Byzantine specifically, being buffed up a few times. Now we've seen some players who really put some focus into practicing with those civs and actually making it to where you have to respect, the Byzantines on Wham, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've watched Rams stream numerous times and him playing Byzantines, and you know I remember the first month or so with Byzantines coming out because of, they were a little bit slower to get going. In Feudal Age, they really had some trouble. It was a civ that I experimented with myself, and it just felt like, you know, you couldn't get all of your things going by the time your opponent runs you over. Now, probably Feudal Age might be the weakest point of the Byzantines, but now it's a little bit easier to get going, So hopefully we could see the Byzantines, maybe obviously not in this series, but maybe in next series we have the ability to. There are some. I do think there are some civs that we are never going to see. Right now, Ottomans does not exist. There are 15 civilizations in this game, and we probably will not see Ottomans forever.
Yeah, they're just a little too strong in not like like you were just talking about, like, oh, like Byzantine kind of has like this weak point. It's like, pick a weak point for Ottomans. Like,
Right.
tell me one.
I'm,
Like, no. Yep. Well, you keep we'll be looking around here for a while.
yeah, I'm
Um,
looking for the weak point. I'm not finding it.
yeah, they're strong at all points of the game. You can't match them in any sense. So we will consistently be seeing some auto bans. If we see anyone leave auto open, that is usually free win. I think I casted a few last week in the qualifying rounds, and every auto game I was surprised, and I think every auto game was a win. So that didn't surprise me though.
Go figure. Luck Farmer in chat says weak in band phase. That's true. Yeah, they're pretty. They're 16 out of 16 when it comes to the band phase. Absolutely, I'll
Yeah.
give you that one.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. But I mean, that is where I'm still surprised to see, a Byzantine band being forced on out. The JD bans don't surprise me, even with the JD nerfs. That is still a civ that it's not fun to play against. Level 3 JD OP. But now we're gonna get to see Gorge. We're gonna get to see Delhi and China, and it's not gonna be the typical boom game that you see off of China, because you got to respect some Delhi here. So I think we're starting to hear some game noise. We're gonna get this set on up, and we are back after the break, back into the game and the excitement.
Oh, buddy, series number 4. Let's get it. Our game is not. Wait a minute. Hold on, everybody, relax. Hey, how are you? We we fancy seeing you guys here in a place like this. We're gonna get to the game in just a second. A little bit of a pumping for you. There you go. See, just wanted to keep you on your toes, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted
It's
to keep you on your
all
toes.
all about the hype. So game number 1, Beasty versus Wham. Wham playing the Chinese in the color blue, spawning in the south side. Beasty in the color yellow, playing as the Delhi in the north of Gorge.
I think this one, I mean, just gotta talk about the matchup a little bit. It's kind of interesting because it feels like Delhi can kind of get off the ground and able to get their sacred sites and all of that kind of stuff. But for China, obviously, we do know from Zushi's legacy from China, they do have one of those units that are very, very powerful, and that's the Zug Nu. Are we going to see a lot of Zug Nu in this matchup, do you think?
I mean, the one of the weaknesses of the Zug Nu is kind of the immobility. You know, you obviously want to get a big mass of them, and then they're kind of just good against everything. But one thing about the sacred sites on this map, it's very condensed. They're not like in, you know, corners of the map where you're really having to run across. They're in pretty central locations, pretty close to each other. So I could easily see that happening. It's just really how Wham wants to play the game. You know, you can play it macro where you're kind of like, all right, Delhi, I'll let you do your thing, but you're gonna let me do China things, and you know, we'll see who kind of plays out better there. Which the early castle timing from the Delhi is usually really scary because that's when China is the weakest. And so that's really going to be the key, is how Wham wants to play this.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I noticed that sometimes, you know, where you're playing as a Delhi, you get all the sacred sites, you're like, man, I'm in a pretty good spot. You know, I'm gonna hit Castle Age, feeling good about myself. And then China, it has been on 2 town centers, you know, for their future. They have 30 more villagers than you, and all of a sudden they just steamroll you over with a better economy because those sacred sites, yeah, they're really great to get, but there's still how many villagers of extra economy? It's not like China where a second town center, it doesn't equal 30 for you. Right.
Okay.
So we could see, you know, we'll see what China does, because we know if you leave China to their own devices, it's it's gonna be trouble.
Sheep count didn't look too tilted towards either player, pretty even for the greater parts of the thing. Yeah, it looks like Wham has a few extra, but not by many. Which again, BC's not. Oh wow, okay, 15 to 11. I think I lied. BC is up a few, which good benefit for him. Oh, okay. That's he must have just snagged a few more in the center, because when we saw that scout a second ago, he only had about 4 sheep on it, I feel like. But overall, this is where pretty even game. We're going into Feudal Age. Tower of Victory is exactly as expected from Beasty. You know, the Dome is more for the weirder, like, kind of Castle Age plays and some other things, where Tower of Victory, you're going to have that infantry attack speed just for the whole game.
Yeah, and I mean, this is why I think it's one of the best landmarks out there, because this building is going to give you that aura. It gives you it basically for the entirety of the game. Some of the best Feudal Age landmarks are ones that continue to help you throughout the duration of the game. Something like we just saw the Aachen Chapel with HRE, similar result. So hopefully, with Beasty, he could use a decent mass, you know, of something like archers or something like foot soldiers, like men-at-arms. But again, you're sacrificing the mobility at the same time. So it's very, like, the Chinese is, we all know, because Chinese has come out since day one, it's pretty reactive civ. You got to know what your opponent is doing in order to counteract it, because the Chinese, they could do a little bit of everything. They just got to do the right thing.
Yep. Well, one of the things we noticed by the macro split over from Wham is he's got the second IO out. He is supervising food and wood, and his villagers are only on food and wood, which makes me think we're going Feudal Age. We're going military mass. It's almost exactly like how Marine Lord played it earlier as the Mongols, where it was like, hey, I know you want sacred sites. I'm just going to do my best job of counteracting you getting sacred sites.
Yeah, and for China, they might have the ability to do that. The first thing that they're making is spearmen, which we all know from the Delhi Sultanate. Usually one of the first military buildings that they end up getting is a stable, but Beastie going with blacksmith just because he has that little bit of time, right? He does have 3 scholars, so it's going to help him with his research, and then he'll be able to, probably in about a minute or two, you'll hear the bing bong bong of all 3 of those sacred sites going off at the same time, forcing Wham to make a choice.
Yeah, you say that though, but now Beasty, I feel like it's going to be hard for him to climb. Like, he has efficient production that he's going to be able to utilize to climb in numbers, but Wham's pumping already. He's got double spears, archers in production. He is nonstop producing units and will continue producing units for the probably entirety of Feudal Age. So game plan here, force some reaction out of Delhi. Okay, I say that, and Wham might have stopped producing a little bit. We'll see.
Caster Curse strikes yet again. But one of the things that I was just going to say, one of the things that the Chinese are good at, you might be able to stop one Sacred Site 100% from getting capped. And it's putting that Barbican right smack dab in the middle of a Sacred Site. And he's putting it not only on that middle Sacred Site, but right in the middle of that gorge.
Yeah, and has some deer that Beasty so nicely spread out to counteract any sort of nice gathering from it. So as he drops that mill, he might want to cancel that, and maybe I drop it over in between some more of the deer. It's okay. It's okay. He'll figure it out. We'll probably end up seeing like 3 mills get dropped over in that area because of the deer push by Beasty. But Barbican's going to be up. Military is out, and Wham's actually feeling somewhat good, and from here he's going to be Song Dynasty, so he'll slowly start climbing in the villager mass and moving back over to gold.
Yeah, it kind of begs the question. I mean, he added the second archery range, but you're right, he did stop producing for a little bit. So it begs the question if he, wants to just make a couple units, to make sure his Barbican gets up, and then he starts exactly what you said, making those Zoognu pop out once he hits Song Dynasty. As soon as he hits Song Dynasty, hit that Q for the Zoogs, baby.
Getting some, what is that, Imperial Examinations upgrade? Is that what it's called? I'm not really sure. It doubles attack gold. Yeah, Imperial. Oh, look at me. I'm good. I'm good at this game.
You passed the exam.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so now Wham gets to do the easy thing, and it's just mass all of one unit. Beasty is all archers right now. The Ghazi Raiders, they're very expensive, like comparative to a Chook mass, and just a few spears can really deter those on away. Oh, poor little buddy. Help step, bro.
I don't know if we're allowed to cut each other.
Oh, you can say what you want. So sacred sites are starting to be taken. There's not really a lot of mass here to defend both sacred sites. BC's starting to wall up the west one though. And Wham, it looks like he has a scout on the east one to potentially deny that one. Yeah, forces the east one away. So Beasty at least will start to get one captured for himself.
Yeah, and I mean just that little bit of time, right? That one scout just means that Scholar walks all the way back, right? There's nothing else to take that sacred site. That middle one obviously not there. So this is really, honestly, this Barbican position is so nice for Wham because, yeah, that one on the northwest or the western part of the map is gone, right? But the middle one obviously taken. The eastern one is the closest one to him. So it's going to be a little easier for him to defend. Again, continuing to contest that sacred site. There's Zoog News shooting those machine guns they got on him, and he's going to be able to wall this side as well. Beasty might be hindered to just one sacred site for the foreseeable future.
And this is one heck of a wall that Wham, I mean, Beasty's doing the same on the other side with his archers, but Wham, he does have those Chinese villagers. Ghazi Raiders are starting to be produced. Wham still has a few of those spears from earlier on, and that Chook mass is getting to the point where he can just move with it and kind of just kill anything and everything that they encounter.
Yeah, I mean, now he's got 17 of them. All he has to do is keep them together, He's talking about, we talked about in the beginning how you're trying to deny sacred sites. You get tunneled into the sacred sites and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that kind of falls into the Delhi plan. That wall not going to be able to get built, though. Those archers going to take care of that villager. You could do something like use one of those Zooknu and go into Beasty's villager count, right? I mean, there's a lot of plays that you can make. And Beasty with that heads-up play, look at that perpendicular wall right there.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you can't get that wall going. It's good. Smart move.
Wham not sending a villager back over there yet. I was surprised that he pulled his military away. I thought he was going to have it sit there for a little bit longer to let that wall finish on up or get closer to at least. And now it looks like that's going to be his plan, kind of just make sure the eastern sacred side isn't being capped. Just, yeah, he's given up one, but could be a lot worse.
Oh, yeah, it definitely can. And hopefully for Beasty, if and when he does try to get those sacred sites, the two sacred sites might be enough to propel him, but that one on the north side getting neutralized for just a little bit. So this is not Beasty's, this is not a walk in the park for him.
Looks like he is stepping up to take that sacred site, though, or not necessarily take the sacred site, as Scholar isn't there yet, but more importantly, wall on off, and Wham has not chosen to make any spears. He is opting for the just chooks and more chooks. The spears are just from that earlier on barracks that he produced the few with.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, just based on how many archers Beasty has, maybe those spearmen aren't going to do anything. Ghazi Raider on the south side getting a little bit of flank. Oh, and there come his friends. There's about 6 or 7 of them, making Wham back up just a little bit. And I'm kind of surprised Beasty backed up a little bit as well. I mean, those Ghazi Raiders, Wham has 8 Juke New in the count right now. We're starting to get more of them. I'm kind of wondering when that critical mass is for Wham, how many it actually takes to take down all these Ghazis.
You know what I'm worried about is Wham's wood line right now is those Ghazis. They're just going to run past that Chook Mass. Very immobile. The Chook Mass, yeah, they can take down the Ghazis when they're grouped and they're taking the fight, but they're not good at defending on the base. Speaking of, we hear the sirens. Good old surround. There's so many Ghazis there that they're easily able to take advantage of the pathing, take out 3-4 villagers, but Wham pushes up a little bit on the other side with his Chook Mass, denies some berries, but no kills.
Yeah, it's a kind of a heads-up play for Wham, and he's starting to make a couple more spearmen. Ghazi Raider, a lot went down.
That was a lot that ended up falling in return, which, yeah, Beasty got some damage on the vills, but Wham's ahead in villagers typically. He's China, and yeah, it sucks to lose some, and they're basically even on villagers, but Wham has now denied the sacred site and has a pretty scary military lead.
Yeah, right now it's about 50 to 39, and a lot of them being that quote-unquote OP unit of the Zug Nu, so we'll be able to decap that sacred site there on the eastern side. And even with, again, you talked about Song Dynasty having that increase in villager lead. 7 villagers went down. He's still technically up, so it did kind of negate that Song Dynasty, that Song Dynasty positivity that Wham has, but still, it's not like he's completely, decimated.
Yeah, and I mean, what are these? Is Beasty walling off the berries in the west? Like on Wham's side? What?
Okay, dude.
All right. Oh, there's spears here. They spotted it out. Oh, and a good little raid, but there's some outposts. They are able to pick up a villager before jumping inside the tower, though.
And again, weak point of China, right? Trying to get those outside food resources. He's got to keep that tempo up, so he can't do things like make farms. He's got to go out here and get some of this stuff. Ghazi Raiders, just because there's outposts there, Ghazi Raiders are continuing to go back and forth. Don't see hand cannon slits on those things either. So it'll be a little bit difficult for him to actually take down the Ghazis. But now Wham thinks he's got the mass for this. 47 Juke Nu to 36 regular archers for the Delhi Tower Victory archers, I should say. I'm kind of curious if Wham actually wants to take the battle to him, or is decapping and making sure he doesn't have sacred sites, is that enough?
This is one where it looks like Beast. When I see Rams, like when you see Rams, you immediately, in my eyes, want to fall back because your opponent's thinking to all in. They just spent 600 wood or whatever it is, 500 wood on Rams, where now you hopefully have more units, you hopefully have more mass than that. And not only that, Chooks can take out Rams pretty well. So I would just wait for this fight until where Beasty clearly wants to take out the Barbican or something of that sort.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on those Rams. Zug Nu, just because of how many crossbowmen bolts, we're seeing another raid here. Spearman actually going to help out, make sure that food is stabilized. But you're right about those Rams. There's enough Zug Nu here at DrDabston where those Rams are going to pop like balloons.
And Beasty, both of these players now are getting to the point where they're running lower on the food. I think those walls finished up, maybe. I'm not for sure around the berries, but that's pretty funny if it is finished. No, maybe, not sure. Even still, easy burn, but that's definitely frustrating to say the least over on Wham's side, having some annoying food delay.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, there still is, Beasty knows that food is the key. Right now, he sends even more Ghazis. 2 Spearmen is not going to do anything against this big Ghazi raid, so he will be able to take down those clock towers. Look at what Wham just did. The astronomical clock tower. He feels like he can't get through to the Delhi base in Feudal Age, or Beasty feels like he can't get through the Chinese Barbican. So Wham's going to try to take the upper hole to get some technological advantage.
And Wham just needs to stall this for as long as possible, because look at what is about to show up on our screen here in just a second. Oh. It's that immobile mass. It's on the way. There's a little bit of some stealth forest there. And spears have arrived as well. So Beasty about to take down the outpost. The outpost does fall, but the villagers inside that one will not. And now Beasty hears the Castle Age finish, and he's like, oh no, I got to do something. So Ram's main army of Beasty is going to start moving forward. Good little cutoff by Wham to pick off a few more of those Ghazi Raiders as they circle around. And here comes the main mass from Beasty.
But you're exactly right. Those Zugnu are out of position, right? Look how far they are from that Barbican, and it's going to take a while to actually get there. Now, those Rams, there's nothing here to pop them. So they're going to be able to take down this Barbican. I think for Wham, he's got to take use of some of the Castle Age equipment that he is now getting. He can do things like get his Castle Age upgrades. You see he's getting Castle Age Zugnu. He could do something like a Clock Tower Nest of Bees, which he might need against this big Archer mass. Wham, right now, he's gonna. This is put up or shut up time now. This might be the game.
Yeah, he needs food badly, as that's what Beasty's been focusing on. That is what he's constantly been denied off of, and the main Barbican at least provided a lot of delay time. The veteran Shooks, he still wouldn't even have wanted to take this fight now. He doesn't have vet Shooks in yet, so he wouldn't have taken it yet. The Barbican's just a delay. Just be patient. I like the fact that he didn't take the fight. Now he has an upgrade. Now he's good with taking whatever.
Yeah, no, it finally came in. It came in a little slower than I thought, but Beasty now, taking down that Barbican, is going to be able to go up for the compounded defender, and this is going to be an interesting time for him. You know, I mean, he does have military lead. It's 90 to 72, but the quality isn't exactly there. Wham is continuing to pump out those Zugnu, so we'll see if he actually gets a front battle. More Ghazi raids on that south side. This has been a killer for Wham.
Yep, just continually been circled. He does have 4 barracks there to be able to pop some spearmen out quickly, but doesn't have any spears queued up. It was 1 palace guard, I think. And the vet Shooks are pushing. The big problem for Beasty, though, I saw this in some games yesterday, I think Lucifron took advantage of it, is it takes a ton of time for upgrades to come through. So those veteran archers, he puts it on, he's got 2 minutes. That's such a long time in an RTS game.
That's going to feel like the longest 2 minutes of his life. And he's continuing, he's continuing to deal with raids because these raids are just going to buy him a little bit of time, right? But now, these Zugnu are going to be coming in on the base. He sees the Castle Age button because you're exactly right, Dabston. Delhi, when they hit Castle Age, they're pretty much Castle Age in name only, right? All of these archers, these Ghazi Raiders are still feudal. So now is your time to really take the strike. And we see that blue blob coming up here. That's going to be an issue. Maybe some dead villagers, maybe some raiding potential. A lot of these production buildings won't be able to get out Castle Age units. This could be huge.
Yeah, as we were leaving the base, it didn't seem like he was getting too much, but there's the main army. He wants to actually take this fight. He wins this fight heavily if he can take it. He just needs to continue stepping forward. There's tons of vulnerable villagers as well. Say that 10 times fast. Chooks just nonstop getting to fire this time, and Beasty is taking the fight. He's getting his town center fire to help on out as well. And that Chook mass is falling pretty quickly, though. They're doing some overkilling, and he doesn't have all the units there. So this is actually not looking as good as it could have been.
I think you actually hit the nail on the head when it came to this battle because these Zugnu are going to get wrapped up. I think initially because of defender's advantage, Meganel pops out. I don't think there's going to be much for it to shoot, though. I mean, those 4 Zugnu get hit by it. Wham is like, my Zugnu mass is gone. So am I, dude. I'll see you game 2.
Yeah, I mean, those were vet Shooks, and they were basically killing like 3 archers per volley when they could have been killing like 40. Like, it was like, they were just overkilling way too hard. They were taking extra fire. It was just not a good fight, but Wham had so much stuff going on in his base. It was nonstop Ghazi raids, and I really think the big problem was walls. Wham had just, like, think about how many outposts Wham invested into. It was like, I want to say 4 or 5 different outposts. That's enough to full wall the whole map in the middle. Like, obviously you don't have to, but wall off one side like he was planning on doing early. Once you get one wall up, then you go bring your Chook mass over to another side, wall up, and then all of a sudden you have your whole side protected. And I think that was really what was the downfall for him, because he couldn't ever breathe from Ghazi raids.
Yeah, you know, as much as I hate to say it, walls are probably the answer in that situation. Yeah,
I hate to say it too. I'm not a wall guy, but
I know. We're both not very much on the walls. You know, I know that, but I think too, where the veteran Zugnu were for Wham, because it was sitting in that choke point, he couldn't get that line formation, right? So he wasn't able to deal with a lot of those archers or pepper them in. They ended up getting one or two getting killed at a time, and I think that's where the overkill kind of started. And it's a difficult place because Wham, I mean, like, I get why he did it. You know, he shipped all of those Zugdu in there, but it's just they kind of just sat in that hallway.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good time to take the fight. It just wasn't a good place to take the fight.
Right.
And then also not a good executed fight either. But that's where, again, there's so many different things going on the map. Who knows? But now, game number 2, we're going back to the OG classic map. This was like the first custom map utilized in tournaments. Always super fun to watch. Shoreline fish is in an abundance, sheep's in an abundance. So that's why HRE love to get picked. They got tons of food to just be able to sit under their town center safe and secure. Mongols, always another civ that's utilized on this map quite effectively. But the only downside I could see is I've seen some gold spawns on Frisian Marshes that are like untouchable. So we'll see how if Beasty can get what some people call the Marine Lord spawn.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he gets that lucky. And I mean, I know for HRE, I'd always thought Frisian Marshes was probably and still is my favorite quote unquote custom map. You know, this is a map I remember Adney made it a long, long time ago because he was a Bruce fan and it was a very good Bruce map. So that's probably why I love it as much as I do. But the ability for your civilization to actually there's kind of a meta here where you play something like maybe a French because you want to get into your opponent's base and you have the food economy and all that kind of stuff to do so, or you have something like an HRE that you have a lot of sheep, so I'm just going to sit here. I'll sit here until I'm good and ready to come out, and hopefully for the HRE he has the ability to do that. I know Beastie's HRE is quite scary. Wham's Mongolians though looks to be a somewhat decent matchup for him, so we'll see.
Well, if my memory serves correct, this map also has a nice corner market as well.
Mm.
Um, Allows some nice trading. But for now, enough about the map in the match ahead of us. Let's check in on some Group B standings here from today. We casted the top left one over there. You saw Baltoon able to take down Anatan, who was at that point #1 in the group. Beasty took down Elyona. Anatan looked like he barely lost out to Lucifron as well. So 2-1s for Anatan today, or 1-2s, I guess I should say. B though getting some revenge compared to yesterday, getting a 2-0 dub against Avely, getting a 2-0 dub against Zerton. We are waiting on the Beastie Zerton match. I think they're planning on playing after that, and you can see a bunch of the other updating scores and other series ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, this is the great part about the Elite Classic. You can see the standings now fully updated. We have Loose Front at 4-1, who's played more games. You know, obviously BC is in the series that we're casting right now, but absolutely for B, you said he got the 2-2-0s. He was due. He needed that one. He was down. You know, he was down in that 7-8-9 kind of area. Now he's up to top 4. You know, again, there's a lot more games to be played, obviously, in Elite Classic. So these could shake up at a moment's notice. Anything could happen. All I know is that I'm here for it.
Well, one of the things that we didn't kind of mention about the O2 from B is who was against. He unfortunately lost to #1 and #2 on the list, and you can see both of those players have lost a game, and B was able to take games off of Lucifron and Beastie both in those series. So at least the O2, it wasn't nothing going with it. He was able to take games off of each of them and still has again, taking a game off of the top 2 players in the group, not the worst. He can clean up the rest of the bracket and find himself in a nice old spot, nice old position. But back to the game ahead of us. We got Wham Beastie. We saw game #1 where Beastie was just able to kind of clean up Wham's army with the timing, and now we're going to be jumping into game #2 on Frisian Marshes.
Oh, I love this map. I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen it in such a long time. So I'm ready. Lobby screen, transitioning over to game screen. Here we go. Wham playing as the Mongols in the color blue, spawning on the north part of your map. His opponent as the Holy Roman Empire in the color yellow. It is Beastie and Dabston. What fresh hell is that? That's a
It is.
barracks at
Well,
Dark Age.
he didn't get the Marine Lord spawn, so he has to do this. He wants to. Well, he doesn't have to do this, but he wants to make sure to counteract any sort of tower rush. Make sure he can kind of protect up his gold. The big problem here is if you lose this early fight, all you did was make this a lot harder for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, not even just make it a lot harder. You just kind of delayed yourself. You know, I mean, part of what I talk about with Mongol tower rushes is, yeah, it delays your feudal age, you know, because you're doing things like getting a tower, getting a barracks, getting spearmen out, all that kind of stuff. But if you cause more delay to your opponent than you do to yourself, obviously it's a win, right? And because of how effective tower rushes has been in the lifespan of Age of Empires 4, we know that a lot of times that ends up happening. It was really interesting from Beasty, however, it looks like based on the military count here, went for a second scout. So he wants the most amount of sheep that he can get. What do you think about that choice?
I mean, on this map, I'm totally fine with it, especially with the game that he's playing. This is kind of where, like, if you get a ton of the sheep, you kind of play the game where, okay, we're going to continue to play this in the Dark Age a little bit, and if you have spent a lot more of your sheep count, I win this game in the long run, and you can already see how that has paid off for Beasty, as he has about 30 sheep compared to 10, it felt like. And as the HRE, that is massive, because that is just constant, well, 22, 25, we'll see, maybe go up to 30 on the circle back around, but that's constantly inspired economy. The only key downfall here is every spear Beasty produced, like you said, it's full price, and Wham, he's not having to pay full price for those.
Oh no, those spearmen are coming out 2 at a time. Absolutely. So those gold and that stone mine, rather forward. So obviously I understand the tower rush, and when you see, you know, because I asked you a question about a second scout, it's easy to see how well it paid off when you see greater than 10 sheep following both scouts. You're like, yeah, okay, that's probably a good idea.
It's this map and it's Prairie are the two maps where second scout are like, it's like, yeah, why not? Like, sure, go on ahead. Like, you know, I won't complain about it. If you know, I can see the argument for one scout as well. And look at Wham. He just sends the villager home and he goes, all right, fine. You produce some spears. I would like to see Wham just cancel this next spear even and just kind of force this reaction from Beasty. Because I will say, if Beasty sees that he has the spear number, he'll go end up trying to burn the Uvu. I'm not sure if the TC's close enough. I don't think it is.
Let's see.
Nope, just out of range of the Uvu. But so that's where Beasty will go try to burn this Uvu. Wham can just double produce is what I want. I don't want him to pay for any single spears, kind of.
Yeah, and I can understand why, you know, because it delays your field age. But I guess, you know, if he continues to have a spearman, you know, he makes one at a time, and then once he gets the 80 stone he needs to double produce, he will end up with more spearmen. You know, I guess it's just, what goal are you trying to get with those more spearmen? You know, are you trying to delay something like gold? You might not be able to with how many spearmen Beasty has. So just the end goal, the why of what we're watching, I'm kind of interested in seeing that pan out.
Yep. Khan, though, constantly peppering these spears as they go across with the little bit of damage that he does in the Dark Age. And Wham does actually have the spear number. He can easily push back up, go and try to force Beasty off of that gold. He himself actually has enough to age up throughout all of this. So this is kind of what we were talking about. And Khan utilizes the maneuver arrow, is in good position, has the spear numbers, and this is a really big fight for Wham, considering he's taken this fight that's a winning fight, and he's aging up with the silver tree behind this. Beasty's just going over to the gold too.
I think the biggest part of this was the stealth forest, right? Wham had the con, and Beasty didn't have a scout over there, so he couldn't really see anything about what was going on. Now we've got some spearman reinforcement. Scout from HRE actually ends up almost going down. What's nice about the con is when you're able to micro like this, you get yourself in a bad way, or just like how the con did with its first arrow, if you want to catch up, you're going to be able to do it.
Look at the prelate, though. This is not only used to inspire, but also used to sit here and heal up all those spears, heal up the damage that was done earlier on. Meanwhile, Wham doesn't have any way to do that. His benefit, though, he can immediately get this veterancy hardened upgrade and go back in on it if he desires.
Yeah, and Beasty hasn't hit the button yet. You know, I mean, there might be some Akka Chapel spots maybe in the back of his base. Maybe he wants to make a lumber camp out of it, and it looks like that's what he's choosing to do. But you're exactly right with the silver tree. You get the hardened upgrade, right? And then we see where those trading posts are. One's on the eastern tip, one's on the southern tip. So if Wham can continue to keep fights around the HRE base, trade behind this could be an issue for the Holy Roman Empire.
New age begins. Spearman numbers still favoring Wham. Hardened upgrades on the way, and remember, this is just a hardened upgrade, so it comes in the blink of an eye, and Beasty should be forced off of gold after that. So has he gotten enough gold for the upgrades that he wants for you know, all of this fighting? About to go into play. One of the spears gets cut off from the pathing, so at least one spear will, I lied, not fall.
Almost, right? That spearman's hanging on to dear life and might exsanguinate out near that town center, depending. But Wham is the first one because he's feudal age. We saw that archery range come up, right? He's going to be the first one to have that technology available to him. He's producing archers 2 at a time now instead of spearmen. So it's a little bit of archers going to be able to help him out. While on the flip side, the Beastie trying to get the wood to get his own archery range. So he's just doing everything just a little bit slower than Wham.
Looks like Beastie got enough gold for wheelbarrow and double broad axe, which would be my guesses that he's going to use that for. Wham's starting to trade though, and this is where this can really get out of hand. It's the delayed tower rush. Once Wham got the map control, I love the scouting too. Like even though Beastie has 2 scouts, it really feels like he hasn't had the scouts in the correct positioning a lot of the times, because these 2 villagers came out of nowhere to end up building this outpost. Never got spotted until now. Hardened upgrade goes in. Fight's going down, but there's archers here now for Wham. The 2 archers are here.
Yeah, those archers might turn the tide too. As long as those spearmen, I mean, the only thing those spearmen need to do is to make a front line. And obviously Beastie's got more of them, but he doesn't have any archers yet, right? Wham is going to continue to make more. Looks like a couple archers are on the way. So he's got 4 total and probably trading behind this.
Yep. He has been trading behind it, although I don't know. I think the first route is about to drop off now. Yep, just hit the, yeah, woo, 65 gold into the bank though, but that will start adding up fast, especially as you get more traders. They start taking more trips, but the Silk Road, it gets upgraded for how many traders you get, and double range is being dropped. That outpost though, it's going to be denying gold, and not having gold right now for BC, he's 1 gold away from a blacksmith upgrade.
Yeah, and that's quite the issue, isn't it? I mean, getting something like Steeled Arrow or Iron Undermesh when you know your opponent is making a decent amount of archers, and Wham doing a good job with the map control that he has and exploiting the resources around it, as Vodka's showing, taking some shoreline fishes, which is going to help him in the food economy. May not necessarily be an inspired sheep gatherer, but at least is going to tighten up that gain that Beastie's having in food. And now he feels like he has the ability to push out. He's got some spears, got some archers. There's a gold mine that's rather in front. The second and tertiary golds are rather difficult for Beastie to get through. He feels like this is his time. If he's going to try to get gold, it's going to be now.
I mean, all he really needs is 1, but he can't take the fight. Archers trading off with the spears on either side. It says Wham has more archers. I don't know if they're all here though, as it doesn't seem like it. He's having to fall back with those archers now. And now he doesn't have a front line with it either. He is producing some Keshiks, though, which will be a great raiding unit.
I mean, the Keshiks are going to help him out, you know, try to make sure that maybe this gold mine isn't exactly the safest thing in the world. But BC brought 5 villagers specifically because he's probably going to make an outpost in that particular area, so it keeps them safe, at least from things like Keshik raids and the like. This is a part of the time where we're 9 minutes into this game. I did not think a Beastie was going to be able to get out here and get room to breathe, but it looks like he's doing it perfect.
Yeah, this is where it felt like if Wham just full sent into archers more instead of swapping onto the Keshiks. I thought it was double range when he dropped it earlier, but oh, it was double range. I guess he just put a stables over onto the Uvu as well, but I really felt like he could have potentially denied gold for the long haul, but he's fine with for making the transition. The Keshik mask, very, very scary. BC though, making his own men-at-arms now.
Yeah, I really like, I mean, obviously because Wham has the majority of his army is archers, right? So the men-at-arms are a pretty good play. Give you a little bit extra armor. You know, maybe you can add a couple, you know, you do have spearmen in your composition, so you can deal with Keshiks as well. And it depends on how much Keshiks are even going to be made. It feels like for BC, though, he's good militarily, military lead 32-22. He's taking some good fights. There's still that background of trade. As you see some of the archers getting hits, Khan getting his arrow out there. It looks like one of those villagers might go down for Beasty, but ends up staying alive. The men-at-arms, though, quite the tanky unit. He's going to run up to those archers. He doesn't care at all.
The key here, though, is when Beasty's transitioned in the men-at-arms, every fight, Wham has been picking off the spears. If you focused on this, every single spear has now fallen, and the Keshiks do a great job at denying the men-at-arms, and they can run rampant on the archers, too. They can go hit the wood line and do whatever they want when there's no spears there.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like I just blinked and Beasty had 12 spearmen. Now he has 5, pretty much 0 out in front where that army is. It looks like he does have some scattered military units try to take down that trade, boasted up from 65 to 72, so that's going to help him out. And it kind of puts Beasty on the clock.
Oh, his other scout's down now too. But yeah, 3 spears have been on that trade line for a while. I think Wham sent some archers over there now to deal with it. But those traders have been getting taken down and definitely getting annoyed. And there's the archer finally arriving. It looks like just 1.
Yeah, and I think. Oh no, I think I saw a second one. Okay. Yeah, over there on the eastern side there. But I mean, if he doesn't make a concerted effort to try to deal with all of these traders, yeah, Wham did lose a couple donkeys, and I appreciate that. But it's still a clock. If he gets a lot of these traders going before you know it, we have 10 to 15 traders. All this gold economy is kind of situated. Now we see BC as being the Holy Roman Empire, not somebody who necessarily goes with a lot of military on one TC. He feels like he has to. If he lets this trade go, he's doomed.
Yeah, he is starting to step up. He wants to resecure that gold, resecure, some more upgrades, some more ability to make men-at-arms or whatever he really wants to. And over on the other side, Wham dropping another production building. He is doubling down into feudal age because the longer in feudal age, the better for him right now with the trade he's got and the map control.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have things like trade, you have things like map control throughout the duration of the game. It just gets exponentially better for you. And then Beasty, those sheep finally start to go away. It looks he probably had about 30 there, so now he's going to start to do a farm transition. It's going to cost him a little bit of tempo too.
Yep. Meanwhile, Wham on the other side grabbing some shoreline fish. He's making sure to deny the shoreline fish from Beasty with that one outpost. And this is kind of feeling like Wham's in control of this one for the time being.
Yeah, there's a little bit of 13 minutes into the game. We kind of have our first little bit of a ceasefire. It seems like Beasty's able to lick his wounds from what happened in Dark Age, and as soon as I say ceasefire, both of these armies are coming right at each other again.
Yep, spears aren't on the front side, and if they step up, they're immediately going to get focused down by that archer mass. Con arrow gets utilized. Archers trading for archers. Spears, though, being chokeholded. BC doing such a good job of not stepping up with the spears to make sure that they don't get taken out, and the Keshiks haven't been able to do anything, which are the high-value unit on Wham's side.
This was a micro masterclass from Beasty, and this is something that I usually just say when I'm casting all the time is your spears. I mean, yeah, they're a DPS unit against those horsemen, but they are to make sure your archers stay alive. Ooh. And that's how Beasty played it. He made sure his archers stayed alive. He took a good trade against Wham, still surviving, doing fine.
Yep. Silk Road, though, is starting to slowly get upgraded further and further. We're starting to see outposts get dropped along the trade line, which means those traders get the Yamara. They move a little bit faster, and they get a little bit safer as well.
Yeah, I think if people think about those outposts kind of for the speed.
It's not in the outpost range, the traders.
Oh Jesus.
All right, well, it's the thought that counts. Some of them are.
Flip a coin. Some of them might go through, some of them won't. But a lot of it, you're exactly right. I mean, yeah, the speed, but security. Security's so important. You can just pop those traders in to an outpost, and all of a sudden they get angry and start shooting arrows at you. So the Mongolian trade, once those outposts start coming up, it's very dangerous to deal with. Both of these players continuing to spend as much resources as they possibly can, taking a fight into the Uvu depths.
Oh, spears though this time are on the front line. They're melee with the archers. I don't know what Beasty must be looking away. He doesn't. All his spears just got taken down. He should not have. Oh no, he had to be looking away. That absolutely looks like it's game over now. He just got his spear mass cleaned on up. The Keshiks get to chase down the archer mass, and every single time Beasty turns to try to kite, he takes an extra volley from the archers on the side of Wham. So Wham is just going to continue this snowball so heavily now. The reinforcing units don't even have any spears there. There's no spears on the field, it feels like, for Beasty at all.
No, I mean, there's 4 on the map, but I don't know where they are. 3 of them finally getting there, but archers are going to make quick work of them. That's the easiest target practice they've ever had. The Keshiks might be able to charge into those archers as well, but trying to preserve the health, keeping them alive just a little bit. Got to remember their vampiristic qualities. Getting that +3 every time they get an attack is really going to help them out against those archers. And I think, honestly, Dabs, I think a little bit was the stealth force. Maybe he didn't see what was happening.
I mean, both of his scouts got taken out early. It must have been he was leading the path with his spears, which makes it feels good, but it wasn't good because the spears went melee range with archers. Every time the villagers try to step back up for the gold, Wham's just continuing to take the onslaught, continuing to take the fight. Silk Road is probably at its max behind this. I'm assuming Wham's up 15 traders now, so they are starting to bring in a ton more extra resources.
Yeah, and I think that's what.
Oh, he's one away.
Oh, but I mean, hey, in about 10 seconds, he is going to be on tier 3 for that Silk Road. You're absolutely right. That plus 10% for everything is really going to help you out. Where if Beasty had to make farms, right now he's putting some stables in the back, and I think this is something. I mean, Wham's making archers and is going to continue to make archers for the foreseeable future because nothing's going to happen. Oh my God, you can't send those villagers up there. Come on now.
You just completely got wrecked in that fight. You cannot take that location. Beasty was not able to do it. Wham pays, makes him pay for it, takes down 3 villagers. He does not scout the stables transition, but the good thing for Wham is if Beasty's making horsemen, he's not making spears. It looks like he's making men-at-arms, and he's now maxing horsemen, but if Wham just sticks on the Keshiks, he's still fine with that trade. Keshiks will wreck the horsemen, or will just be able to run past and dive the backline of the of Beasty's archers, and Wham has almost double the numbers.
Oh yeah, I mean the Keshiks, again, just because of how much armor they have, how much the horsemen can do, being the fact that they're 100 food, you're absolutely right, because we're seeing him actually, instead of spears, Beasty's going more into men-at-arms. I think he's just trying to get something that's tanky against the archer mass. And the other Keshiks that are there, the 5 or 6 Keshiks, he's like, you know what? We'll deal with them. But the archers are the main DPS right now. And you can see because Wham's got 50 of them. The ability for this trade and how amazing trade is for the Mongolians as he hit tier 3. He has 50 archers right now. And he's macroing the castle at the same time.
Yep. Just continuing to get to produce archers because they're very low in their food costs. He's got enough for castle now. Outpost finally being burnt down by those men-at-arms. So Beasty, he says, all right, if you're not going to let me get gold over there, I'm going to retake my original gold. And Wham says, yeah, for now. I love that Beasty, he only has 2 horsemen. I was about to say he's not shown his horseman play yet. He doesn't have the resources to make this horseman play yet.
Oh no, absolutely. You think you think 3 or 4 horsemen is gonna make a surround on 57 archers? I beg to differ, my friend. And Kurultai now coming up at about 18.5 minutes. Obviously, I mean, Wham's been taking good fights throughout the duration of this game. You see where the Kurultai's gonna go. See that blueprint, getting the veteran upgrades, as Vodka's pointing out. For Beasty, I mean, this is such a difficult place for him because he knows that Wham has more military units, so he's like, I gotta make more military, you know, or I feel like I'm gonna get run over. But if you don't go to castle, you're probably gonna get run over too. So you're kind of in a lose-lose spot here.
Yeah, and the big problem is once the veterancy comes in. We saw how Wham dove the TC with the Chooks. Well, this game he can dive the TC if he wants when he's castle with this mass, I believe. And even still, Beast is trying to reinforce this gold location. Wham's already here. Wham, I actually like that Wham's not taking the fight yet. Just wait until your upgrades come through. Just wait a little bit longer. Uses, I believe, the attack speed arrow there.
Yeah, I believe he did too. Just a little bit of kiting. You know, we're waiting for that archer to come in, and then as soon as it pops, we're gonna see it.
And here we go. Veterancy is in, and now is when the fight's over. Men-at-arms aren't going to be able to do anything. One outpost does finish. Second outpost will finish, but Beasty has to fall back now. Immediately he's housed inside. Kurultai's about to unpack if the units don't get in the way. It's a little buggy sometimes. It's a little buggy sometimes.
Well,
Come on
wait,
now.
wait a minute. Let's see if it
Oh,
Come on, anybody?
okay,
Hello?
there we go.
Okay. There
Okay,
it is.
now it unpacks, and this is where it just kind of feels like game over. Wham's just gonna sit here. He masses up a few more Keshiks. The archers are gonna be able to take out anything in the path, and Beasty, he throws it in. Wham takes game number 2, and we are extending this series on out.
Man, what a good play by Wham. Wham was, it felt, honestly, it felt like Wham was in control for the duration of this game. And that's what Mongolians do to you, right? We talked about that a little bit before. He didn't, Wham as the Mongolians, he didn't do anything, right? Second one, Beastie put a barracks down. You already disrupted the HRE, just the fact that you existed. And that's what makes the Mongols such an interesting civ, such a unique civ, and such a fun civ to watch and cast.
Yeah, I loved casting it too because there were like a couple times where it felt like I would like question some of Wham's play. I'm like, oh, you can like outmass him with the spears in Dark Age. Why not like still send the villager forward and outpost rush? It was like, no, let that villager continue to gather resources, play this the slow game. Then when he won the spear war, then when he had a couple archers forward, that's when he pulled the villagers forward for the outpost rush. It was, making sure to do it at the timing where he didn't get punished for it and made sure to punish Beastie more for it. And then play it slow, make sure to extend out that feudal age. And that's where Mongols wants to play the game, which he did to perfection there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's, if you want to learn how to play Mongols, that's the game you're going to watch. We have Rus. Let's go. Let's go. All right.
Oh, I could just hear how happy you just got. You gave that little gasp there. But we do have Rus. However, on the other side's a Ubids. And we all know what Rus loves to do. It's 2TC. It's, I have the safe eco because I have the Kremlin. I have my gremlins with the Kremlin as well. But a Ubids can punish that heavily. I've seen some. I think yesterday we saw a TC get dropped forward with the Rus against an Ubids, and then it was just a Gulam mass that you couldn't deal with anymore, and their castle got delayed. They got punished for it pretty heavily. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen. Obviously, it does matter kind of where that second TC drop is happening, if that is going to be the play by Wham. And Beastie, we all know the Ubids military wing into Castle Age after.
Yeah, and I mean, there's really that special window for the Ubids against the Rus, because Rus is, they're going to get their second town center as they always do, and they're very, very good at it, obviously. But for the Ubids, I mean, obviously they're not doing that, right? So you're going to be able to get to Castle Age very, very quickly. It's, depending on if you go economic wing or culture wing for that decrease, and for you to get up and increase. But it depends on, one, making Gulams or Camel Lancers, and two, like you said, where that second town center is, because if it's a point where heavily armored units can torch it down, Rus will be down to one town center and licking their wounds. Kremlin Gremlins are otherwise, but I'm so excited for this one. It's game 3. We're seeing Beastie playing as the Ubids. Pivotal game 3 in the color yellow, spawning in the south. And as the Rus, the very first time we are seeing Rus today. Wham! Color blue. Rus. North side. I'm pumped.
Very, very hyped to see this matchup. And I mean, this is the game decider in this huge series here between Wham and Beastie. Beastie was very quickly able to find his deer pack, and there's a second one near, but Wham sends a scout right on across, and we're going to see a little bit of some micro battle right off of the gate.
This is the Rus minigame at their finest, and they make you play it. We're all just watching and concentrating to see who gets the bounty and who doesn't. We are gonna check the bounty probably when the Kremlin does come up, like when we get to like feudal age time, something like that. We'll get close to it. But the deer packs, obviously, for Rus, we know how Rus plays, right? It's pretty important. You gotta make sure you're finding all of them. For Wham, his are pretty spread out. But when we are talking about the Rus, we gotta be talking about the lovely, delectable pork products that are on your screen. We got a boar on the eastern side near that trading post, another boar on the western side near the western trading post. Look at that little guy. Hopefully for Wham, if he does put a second town center somewhere, however, that boar, that's pretty far out there. I think that's danger territory.
Yeah, you lose too much walking time. It's not even worth it at that point. The good benefit, I will say, Wham, he spotted a couple wolves on the way over to that initial deer pack. He's killing up a wolf now, and he still hasn't found his deer, I don't think. He hasn't. Oh, no. Beasty's counteracting the deer on his side. He just found his other deer pack, so really not a good feeling as far as the start goes for Wham. Oh, no.
And that's part of the Roost game. You win some, you lose some. Sometimes you find those deer packs and you have a lot of pelts. You're able to push those pelts 10 gold pop. Sometimes you don't. And Wham is just in one of those situations where 2 of them were contested that he found. The one ended up being safe. Not sure how many wolves, but his bounty can't be looking too great to the point where we know now, looking at from Wham's economic, he's going, he can't
Golden
have
Gate?
the ability to go to wheelbarrow.
Golden
And there's a
Gate?
golden gate. Oh my God, this game's insane already.
I mean, I am loving to see the Golden Gate. This is one where, like, Kremlin's always talked about with how good it is, how defensive it is, but if you don't need it early, use the Golden Gate for a more efficient eco behind this. You know what your opponent's going to be doing. There's another wolf here that BC just spotted on out, but maybe he just spotted it out for Wham. We just heard another wolf start to be picked up, and BC actually is the one who has 2 scouts here, so will secure that wolf for himself.
You know, with this Golden Gate, I don't know what's going to happen, okay? Because usually we see a Kremlin for everything. But if you remember the Golden Gate builds of old, you know, Dabs, that we've talked about it off camera on your stream multiple times. The Fast Castle and the Horse Archer build is something that I miss dearly. And against the IU bids, maybe, because you know they're going to Fast Castle, are you going to Fast Castle with them also?
You're not going Horse Archers.
Well, not with that attitude. Or what about Pro Scouts?
I mean, Pro Scouts is something I wouldn't complain about. That's always, I feel like that's something that always makes games interesting. I would be more inclined to say it's Pro Scouts if this were 3DB playing compared to Wham. But he's heavy onto the wood still. I'm not sure if it's still going to be a secondary TC play or if he's maybe looking for a little bit of some earlier aggression.
Yeah, that could be.
Drop.
So weird seeing a wooden fortress on a wood line nowadays. You know, just because of the Kremlin. You know, it makes it so difficult. But he will go with the lumber camp as well. He probably needs that wood just to make sure he does that and gets pretty much the entire Rus province in order to build that wooden fortress. However, I think, you know, when it comes to any kind of feudal aggression for the Rus, we don't see it too often. But, you know, it's not like it doesn't have merit. You know, they can still produce a lot of archers for you to deal with.
And double broadaxe is on its way. I love this. 3 scouts, like, yeah, they might do like 1 damage a pop, but they don't have anything else to do right now. Go be annoying.
Oh, absolutely. This is some of the best Rus players do this, especially even if you're playing against, you know, when you're playing against IU bids, you know they're not going to make units yet. First Desert Raider finally pops out, so they're going to have to back the other way. But stuff like, you know, like Malians burning down houses and stuff like that. The 3 scouts, I mean, yeah, they help you in the Rus minigame, but don't forget, they still have merit. And
it's feudal.
The feudal push. Let's go. Oh my God, I'm so
this is like
more
the
excited
old,
casting a game.
This is like the old take the boar, drop 4 archery range play, except he hadn't taken the boar yet, but he is definitely planning on some feudal age aggression. Or maybe it's just an archery range to deal with the Desert Raider, some knights to get the leg on up, and then, I mean, that's just way too many on wood. That has to be mass archers.
I would think so too. I mean, you could sprinkle in a little bit of archers, or a little bit of knights, excuse me, to help you out. And I know nobody in chat could see this because we're watching the game. My hands are fully up in the air right now. I'm that excited. The archery ranges now with his ability to build it, the wood economy that he has, he'll be able to do things like get all of his archery ranges, get all of the archers that he's pumping out, get the blacksmith, get all of the technologies. And because your wood economy is so good, if he wanted to go Rams, he'll have the ability to do it.
BC dropping 2 outposts on his gold. He spotted it out. We saw the scout circle twice around the base of Wham, and so that just means he knows how much he needs to invest into this defense. He has to protect up his gold. It's going to be the main focus point if Wham's going to have this aggression, and Wham's already going with blacksmith techs, which aggression is coming.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I just don't know if he's going to have the time for it. Dabs, look at what Beasty he already has for his macro. He has about 700-ish food. He's got about 500 gold. He might go for that super fast age up to try to save himself.
But Beasty's being greedy. He's saving the berries. He's going growth wing, so he's eating the sheep right now. This could end up biting him because Wham, if he continues the aggression, yeah, you might not want to aggress the double outpost gold vein, but you know what you can start denying? All of the food that's directly to the north, and then yeah, there's one other berry bush all the way to the south side, but that's so far away, that's going to be so hard to secure, and Wham's already scouting it. Oh, siege engineering on the way too. Oh my gosh.
Let's go. We're gonna take him to Ram Ranch. All right, sorry, I gotta be unbiased. The deer pack over there on the north side, just like you said. So maybe Beasty will go to Castle Age, right? Beasty might go to Castle Age, but if he can't make the units once he gets to Castle Age, the only thing he did was put a fancy wing on his House of Wisdom, right? I think that's what Wham's really going for.
I mean, we're all about some aggression here. He just used the Golden Gate, buys some extra wood, and he almost has enough for another ram as well with these next villager drop-offs. So is he just going to go up with one ram, or is he going to go double ram and just clean through this gold spot? I love this too. He's circling with his knight. Just making sure there's no like vulnerable villagers that are, you know, out there from Beasty, and Beasty has clicked up.
This is such a tense situation right now. We're talking about with the Iobits because he did go for the economic wing, if I saw correctly, right? He's going to go for those 8 villagers. So it's a minute 45 seconds, whether you like it or not. And this minute 45 seconds, this might be rough. Let's see it. Is he going to take us to Wham Ranch?
Does Beasty even have a production building drop?
I don't think so.
I mean, this is the crazy part, is if that knight just constantly annoys the wood line while the rams and the main army hits the gold, there's not much. Wham, hello?
Anybody? Okay, there we go. Building the Braves now. Okay, that's fine. Because that could have fell apart. If he wasn't paying attention, that could have fell apart pretty quick.
Second barracks is on the way as well. Villagers moving up to the deer. I think, Wham needs to go sooner than later, though. Jumps inside the ram.
Look at this. We got a Trojan horse of a battering ram. We're going to try to take down those arrow slit towers. Those knights and some horsemen are on the back line. They all pop out. How you doing? Keep it moving. Put yourself back in that ram. Try to take them down. Villagers getting their torches out.
Spears jump on out. First camel gets taken down. Outpost goes down in the blink of an eye. Villagers having to run on away. And Wham just jumps right inside and says, hey, I know there's a second outpost. I know there's a second set of villagers here as well. Beasty jumps back out yet again and just says, all right, I'm headed home. You can have the gold. I'm out. One villager falls.
Oh, man.
Where are the rams going now? Like, where's the production from Beasty? I see double stables. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Wham already dropped double barracks. This is awful for Beasty now. He's got double stables into double barracks. All Wham needs to focus on is just massing up spears, and more spears.
Yeah, he's making those camel lancers, but
how many sheep does Beasty have left?
Oh, let's take a look, Vodka. Let's see where that town center is. It looks like those sheep, it looks like maybe 1 or 2 haven't been beaten to death yet, but he's going to start to run dry. Maybe, oh, looks like 4. Okay. So he's got a decent amount of food there. However, the gold, not there.
And he's housed. He's housed, and rams are going to head to the production. Not only rams, the whole military of Wham's headed towards the production. Look at this. The camel lasers can't pop out. Beasty's got nothing right now. Villagers being pulled. So much for 8 villagers right now. If you're going to start losing a ton of those, ram gets taken down pretty low, but it is still alive. Production, stables almost on fire. Beasty is in trouble. Villagers pulled yet again. He jumps back inside though. 1 ram falls, but so does the stables.
Man, the value that those rams are getting right now. This one being at pretty much almost full health. Camel Lancers are going to try to take the shots at it, but good backup from Wham to villagers in that town center as well. This is just creating so much idle time for him. Looks like archery range is on the south side as well. What is he making out of them? Probably just some normal archers is what's going to help him out against those spearmen because that's what he needs.
Time left on food. Villagers are starting to go idle under the TC. He's running out of sheep. He doesn't have any more sheep. This is the point. He's going back to the backside berries, but Wham has a scout there. He's going to be ready for it.
I mean, and honestly, that's just power of the roost, right? You have 3 scouts. You know exactly what's going on with the map. That ram's going to go down.
Ram! Oh! He leaves his ram out to dry, but he has a huge mass here. He needs to just split off one or two knights, go back to that backside berries, because now he knows Beasty is out of food. This is a wild game. Beasty's been castled for a good bit of time, but nothing really to show for himself. He's still only got a few units out on the map. He's having to start building archers, but those are just going to be feudal age archers with, you know, normal feudal stuff. Camel Lancer does go deny some of the boar. Scout though, it's being walled, it's being blocked on in. Wham might go for the dive. Oh,
I think he'll win.
Beasty a little bit out of position with the military mass. Wham circles around with the knights going for the dive and circling around with his main military. Beasty feels like he has to take it. Wall gets deleted. It sounded like behind this, but multiple Camel Lancers going down, and it doesn't feel like... Oh, this is over. The villagers, they have nowhere to go. The knights circled, the horsemen circled. They got to re-wall quick, and they're not able to do so. Wham is closing the gap. Main military as well, still taking huge wins, huge beneficial fights, and it feels like there's nothing that Beasty can do. But we've seen him crawl from the depths before. We've seen him come out of games where he's been in worse off positions than this, but it does not seem like it is getting any better. Villagers are still running, still circling, and look at his food income. 286 food per minute, and I don't know if that's going to be there for long.
That's going to start dropping. Absolutely. I mean, I know Beasty has textiles, but a change of clothes isn't going to help those villagers. Economic count right now, 43 to 41. We have Beasty's archer mass. Looks like on the north side, you know, he tried to get those south berries, but again, this is the question. There's food out there. He can't get to it.
Yeah, and I mean, Wham seeing Beasty go archers, he's probably happy about it. Those are still just normal archers. He's got triple the amount. Beasty's back onto the berries in the front side. More vills are about to start fall. Oh. Okay, maybe not. There we go. One or two more vills fall, and we now see the villager count basically even. Beasty has been raiding this whole time with Camel Lancers. Like one or two Camel Lancers have been circling, raiding, denying Wham onto the boar. But Wham still not yet able to close out the game. I'm wondering if Rams are going to be dropped. He can take berries.
They're just gonna ship it right past those berries. It looks like he's going for more of a carnivorous diet, as I would say. And those Camel Lancer raids though from Beasty, I really feel like they're really keeping him into the game. You know, getting a couple of those villager kills, making Wham split his mental bandwidth in a couple different directions, right? Just make sure he's not getting the boar. But he probably has something like survival techniques, or he has something like an increased bounty, so the boar is really going to help him. Not so much now. He's going to rely on the Golden Gate a little bit. More night raids over there on those south berries, man. Those Iapid villagers are getting their steps in, Dabs.
Yeah, but one Camel Lancer and a little bit of a Vil surround able to take down the rest of the knights that were there, but BC's numbers are still quite low. He is getting a wall up to prevent this constant harassment on those backside berries, but looks like there was another couple knights that arrived, villager being denied on the wall as well. And the villagers, they're having to head home, and Beasty, yet again, he's at 119 food per minute. I have no idea how he is keeping himself in the game, but there is a Mangonel on the way. If Wham spots it out, he can just dive the Mangonel. Has to get canceled, actually.
Wow.
Archer's taking the fight. Wham is diving past this, and I think it's a good fight for him, even though it's under TC fire. There's no real melee mass for Beasty. It's just archers versus archers, and Wham's just continuing to step up, thin out the mass to Beasty.
Yeah, and just like you said, all those archers, they're feudal age. The one pivotal reinforcement is that knight coming in from the northeast side, getting that charge. Beasty don't want to deal with it anymore. Golden Gate, Roos in feudal, taking down that Iapid fast castle.
I mean, wow. This is unbelievable to see. The OG Roos, this is what I have always loved to watch the Roos play as. It's just, you know, mass in that feudal age. It's so hard to kind of stop that eco mass that they're able to do. And Wham just never let up the pressure, continued the onslaught, and yeah, Beasty had some good return raids. He got himself a little bit breathing room, but just not enough. And Wham takes the series.
Watching that old school Golden Gate, Roos, feudal age aggression. I'm happy now. I don't care what happens. For the rest of the cast, I'm content. I'm good.